have the opportunity of talking with her because she's out of the great state of California, IA, where she loves Gavin Newsom. Don't you just love him?
Oh, great love. So much love.
I'm quite certain he'll be having a French laundry meal with you soon, right?
Yeah, that would be swell.
Janice, I got to ask you first and foremost: is it real? The recall on Gavin Newsom, is that real in California?
Well, we're trying. We're trying to do a recall. I mean, I think they've gotten a lot of signatures, but I'm not sure that they have enough. I don't think they have enough quite yet. Uh, you as someone said very wisely, we wouldn't have to do recalls if we just didn't vote them in.
You wouldn't have to spend the money if you didn't waste it in the first place. uh, Tonight, you're here for foreign policy, and this is the week before Christmas. And there are those who are running around town saying that Donald Trump will be leaving the White House, even though I don't believe it. And in addition to that, Joe Biden will be taking the helm of American foreign policy. And one of the areas of the greatest discontent for most of Americans came when Obama dropped $1.5 billion into Tehran overnight in cash, and people were upset when they found out that the nuclear accord with Iran virtually gave them permission to make nuclear weapons, not stop making them. So I wanted to ask you tonight on the two fronts of the Ayatollah and the President Rouhani, Joe Biden, what will be his foreign policy?
Well, I'm guessing it'll look a lot like Obama's,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which he has basically said.
Mm-hmm.
And in regards to Iran specifically, yeah, Obama's foreign policy with Iran was basically a disaster. It was, oh, let's sign up for this deal that doesn't really do anything for us. It doesn't stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons. And let's give them a pile of cash. And I'm guessing that Biden's foreign policy and the way he deals with Iran is going to look very similar. He's already said that he wants to join the deal again, and we've had a couple of messages that have come out of, from Iran in regards to this. One was Rouhani saying, "Yes, that's a good idea. We'll happily join this," which tells me that must obviously be a great deal for them. And secondly, Khamenei came out and said, "Well, not so fast. I mean, well, Trump was terrible, so it might take a little while for us to bring back good relations." I mean, not that we should have good relations in the first place, but
Mm-hmm.
my point being is that Iran is definitely looking at this as an opportunity to get the sanctions removed so they can actually have some sort of economy at all,
At,
because they've
at
been pretty
all.
devastated at all, and to get back into the deal and continue their weapons program. I mean, and do we think that Biden's going to stop them? No. Well, I will back up and say, do we think that anybody's going to stop them? And I would generally say the answer to that is no. So if they're going to be, I mean, why are we wasting, time and effort and cash and making them feel happy and having a good economy if they're going to just be pursuing nuclear weapons?
Exactly. Janice, I got to ask you here. There are people running around saying that the president can get us into a treaty with nuclear arms in Iran, if that would be Joe Biden. But doesn't Congress, at least the U.S. Senate, have to approve getting back into that treaty and even getting into the climate change agreement in France?
Yes, that is definitely true. Technically speaking, the Senate is the body that has to approve treaties. So I think we're still waiting to see what happens to the Senate with Georgia. I think probably like you, I'm somewhat concerned not just about what will happen with the two races in Georgia, but the fact that we have some senators on the Republican side who don't always follow the best advice when it comes to, well, generally anything. I'm looking at you, Mitt Romney. I'm looking at you.
I love Janis. At least you're calling them. They're calling them balls and strikes, ladies and gentlemen. Because Mitch McConnell has gotten into a lot of trouble this week saying that it would be a very bad idea to come to the U.S. Senate with this notion of electors, contested electors from the 7 states: Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Those 7 states have come up with dissenting electors. They're going to come in and they're going to say, you know what, Vice President, you get to choose. You get to choose whatever's in that sealed envelope, or you go behind door number 2, and that's us. And he said that he doesn't want that to happen in the U.S. Senate. It would be a very bad mistake. Can we trust Mitch McConnell over the next 4 years with Joe Biden? And do you think he really meant what he said?
That's a great question. Well, I mean, I don't think that we should be trusting any politicians,
There you go.
first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he, I think that he was, I think that he was wrong to say, oh, it's basically over. It's not over until it's over. I mean, I will say that I personally am not particularly optimistic about Trump continuing on for the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, I think we still have to keep up the fight because it's worth it. And it's worth it to let people know that this election was, basically a sham. And as for McConnell, I mean, I think he's basically part of the swamp still.
There you go.
He has done some good things.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think he has a strong tendency towards the swamp, and I think that we'll probably see that come out more.
Fascinating. Want to ask you also, as we are.
But I like him better than Romney.
Oh God. I mean, that's kind of like saying that the LL level is just above the LM level in the parking area. We didn't go too far with that. I hope to heck that the people of Utah throw Romney out. Just make this his last term. He's done everything that he could do in politics. Let it go. Let it go. In the sense of the United Kingdom, I wanted to raise this question with you, and I'm going to leave it also in the chat roll for everybody. The story itself, that air pollution has now been listed as an official cause of death in the United Kingdom. What is that all about?
Okay. Air pollution. Cause of death. Sure. I'm pretty sure that there were other things that led to someone's death rather than just air pollution. I mean, theoretically speaking, there could be issues with someone's breathing in some toxic stuff.
Yes.
But in general, just straight up air pollution is not going to kill you yet. Mm-hmm. But hey, it sounds good, especially if you wanted some climate change.
Exactly. Are they trying to make climate change a public health issue, and thus have the control that they do have right now with COVID being transferred from COVID to air pollution?
Yes. So basically, what we're saying, okay, this COVID thing has basically demonstrated that you can get a lot of power by saying something is a health emergency.
Mm.
Okay? So when COVID, eventually ends, which it will, they're going to need something else. And I think that they can say, oh yeah, climate change. That's also a public health emergency. Then they can attack climate change and continue to control people.
Wow.
It's
So
a win-win.
literally, you could never get from under the boot of the government because they'll always be looking out for our best interests and trying to protect
Right.
us.
Yes.
Oh my
And
god.
that's I think that's the plan, and that's what's been going on ever since we basically said that, oh, health is the most important thing. And it's not. And I mean, I remember back in the day when we were talking about healthcare and Obamacare, and someone told to me, "Well, what's more important?" A Democrat, a liberal. Well, what's more important than your health? Which sounds really good, right? Except that there are a lot of things that are actually more important than your health. If your health and you know leading a essentially leading a very long life um, is the most important thing, well, we would never have gotten involved in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
We would have said, no, no, that will cost lives, so we're not going to do that. We would not have done a lot of things that needed to happen. We would not leave our house if
Mm.
we thought that, there's a risk. We would not be driving. So much more important things to life than simply being alive. And, we've definitely seemed to have forgotten that.
Wow. I don't think people can even consider in thought after COVID that your government under Joe Biden is lining this whole thing up. That's why he's making this rush towards the climate change accord. And that comment regarding McConnell is so important that it's President elect Joe Biden working out deals between the two of them. You're looking at your government switching to communism in a moment of notice, just instantly into communism. And are the American people believing us? Do they think that we're wearing tinfoil, Janice?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they think we're wearing tinfoil. It's I mean, it's frustrating, right? I'm sure you come across the same thing where you tell somebody, no, this is not going to go away. And they go, oh, yes, it will. It will. We can't do this forever. It's like, well, I mean, we can, and they're going to normalize it. And yeah, I mean, this is essentially the new normal because you allowed it to happen.
So literally, and let's get this straight: Joe Biden in the basement of the White House will be able to work out a deal, getting us back into the climate change accord, and then come out and tell the American people that because carbon dioxide is a pollutant, and because we have pollutants in the air, that we literally can die from those pollutants. We could die from carbon dioxide, and as such, the government needs to shut everything down until we have put in place an agenda, a system, an infrastructure that will prevent people from dying from carbon dioxide. Will the American people fall for that one?
Well, I'd like to say no, but I think they might.
Oh my God!
And and it sounds sort of ludicrous, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we say, "Oh yes, people might be dying of something that's been in the air for literally forever." but it is it really any more ridiculous than what they're saying about COVID? Oh, you should wear a mask outdoors.
Mm.
What? I'm
And,
but
and we're
but people
doing it.
do.
And we're doing
But you're
it.
yes. Yes. So, apparently global warming is killing you and we have to shut down the entire world and the economy and you have to suffer and in some cases literally die for it. So yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that people are going to believe it and comply.
Jeez. Janice Hall, the
I'm
Janice
sorry. I'm
Lady.
sorry to be a downer.
That no, it's just a critical awareness that February we were told 2 weeks. Go to the coast. You won't have to worry about a thing. We'll be done with this. You go back to work. And we're already in December, and now Joe Biden is lining up a plan. And I'm telling you, the mainstream media, and there are conservative news groups that won't believe what we said tonight. They'll be following us 3 or 4 months from now saying, oh, yeah, guess what? But literally, when the UK decides that air pollution is a cause of death, the writing is on the wall. Communism is right around the corner. I want to ask you for now here. Boko Haram. We defeated ISIS, but Boko Haram has strengthened and it lives, and many countries are in great fear of Boko Haram, not just Nigeria. So I wanted to ask you tonight because there is a story about Boko Haram and that they're in the process of beginning to kidnap hundreds of Nigerian schoolboys. What's the purpose behind kidnapping those boys?
Well, essentially to turn them into terrorists.
Mm.
Very simple. So Boko Haram is essentially the African version of ISIS, and they've been kidnapping both boys and girls for years, and very little has been done about it because nobody really seems to particularly care. And it, yeah, I mean, they're going to keep doing it. They've been doing it for years. They're going to keep doing it unless somebody steps in. I'm not really seeing anybody wanting to step in. So here we go. Yeah.
Because we talked a few weeks ago that Nigeria is thinking that Boko Haram has grown so large that it could possibly take over the country. What does a Boko Haram Nigeria look like? If you could tell the American people, because I don't think people conceive a reason for Americans to have to go to war until it's too late. What does Boko Haram Nigeria look like?
Well, it looks a lot like ISIS,
Syria,
just in Africa.
is this Syria 201?
Pretty
Virtually,
much, yes.
pretty much.
Yes.
Oh my God! Because the devastation behind Syria, and we talked a few months back about the detonated. Well, it wasn't detonated, but the tons of manure that were held up in a little docking area, and then it caused this massive explosion uh, in Lebanon. That literally there is a conceivable disarray that could be created by a civil war induced by Boko Haram. What is the number one resource that Nigeria depends on that might draw us into war uh, there as peacekeepers?
Oh, I don't know.
Would that be oil?
Um,
Oil?
some oil. I mean, Nigeria is definitely not as rich as other countries, which is why probably nobody's done much about it.
Wow.
Um, but I think that we we could be induced into it, especially with Biden as president, since Democrats love to go to war. Um,
Any old excuse will do.
any excuse will do. Uh, but I would say that I'm probably generally more nihilistic and think that we probably won't get involved.
Will China get
I
involved?
think we'll get involved in Iran, I mean, in terms of making a deal, but not necessarily in Nigeria.
Will China go and support the government there?
That's possible. It's
Mm.
possible. They do want to have a lot more access to Africa, and this would certainly do that.
Ooh, that would be devastating. That would be very ugly. Because literally Nigeria would be turning its country over to China. Well, wait a minute. Isn't that what China wants in the first place?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, this is it would be a good excuse. You get military in there. That's always that's always kind of the goal, right?
It, see, that's the scary thing. We've been talking about this for years, and we're beginning to see it just roll out. And people are like, I still don't see what you're talking about. And then we'll be like 6 months from now, like, yeah, we talked about that 6 months ago. Janis, we love you dearly. And will you promise us that you will take Dave and Mary and Mrs. Biggs and Jacob the cat to the next French Laundry that you go to with Gavin Newsom? You promise?
Will do. Will do.
Thank you. We love you, Janice. We'll see you next week. God bless you. Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back with more of the best at Urban Conservative Talk. I'm your host, Ken McClinton, and you are watching the best again in Urban Conservative Talk, TECNTV.com. We'll be back for a closing out and announcements of what's to come tomorrow.